Hi, folks. Welcome to the program All About Cars. My name is Ralph Medeiros. I own and operate Ralph's Auto Center with my son Andrew in the north end of New Bedford on 865 Church Street, just off exit 5 off of Route 140. Very easy to get to, just down from Regal House. Web Plumbing and Heating. Oh, got the music queued up. Web Plumbing and Heating and the new Dollar General, and it's Ralph's Auto Center right next door, directly opposite of Vocational's faculty entrance. Very easy to get to. And if you know the city and get around, you'd have no problems. If you're in the suburbs, out of town, just get on 195 or 140 and take exit 5 off of 140. Put you on Church Street, head down Church Street, and just over a half mile, we're on the right-hand side. And there we sell good quality used automobiles. We pretty much in the value end of the market, 4 to 15. And we do sell cars that cost considerably more for people who want them. And clean cars, low mileage, no salvages, no wrecks, no floods. And I guess there'll be plenty of flood cars on the market after this weekend, but we're not into that. We check all our cars very thoroughly, and we before we buy them, and then after we buy them, we mechanically go through them, so that when you get them, the odds of you having a problem are minimized. And if you do, we back them up with our warranties. Okay, most of our machines come with at least 90-day warranty on them, and some have the balance of the factory warranty as well. So that's the difference between us and many of the other retailers out there. We put the money in the cars before we take your money. A lot of places just want to take your money. So Andrew's at the dealership now if you want to go by and talk to him about automobiles. Usually Andrew and David, my brother, are sometimes there. Andrew for sure. And Ulysses during the week, Monday through Friday. He was supposed to come on the program with me today, but I guess something happened. He couldn't make it. But he is the service manager, and the service department is Monday through Friday right now. We'd like to get back to Saturdays. We're working on that. And we do have some extra help coming in to give us a hand to get back to normal. In the repair department, we service all makes and models, no matter pretty much what it is. We will service your car from Mercedes to, Saab, Satins, Volvos, you name it. We'll service and take care of it. If it's something we don't get into, or we don't have the proper equipment, we'll tell you right up front. We tend to be in a kind of restorative type maintenance. Instead of just replacing all kinds of parts, we'll try to keep things going for you to minimize your expenses on the repairs of your car. And that's important for a lot of folks on fixed budgets. We deal with some people who've been retired for a while, and things are getting tight. Prices are going up in their pensions, and obviously you're not getting any interest in your savings. If you have any savings in the bank, they're paying pretzels as far as interest earned on your money. Okay, so as usual, the savers are subsidizing the debtors. And that's the way it's running in this country right now. Give us a call here, 9960500, 9960500. We can talk about pretty much whatever's on your mind. This is the season. We're getting into fall, the change of seasons, and I know it's affected me and as far as my allergies and asthma and health, trying to get through this change of seasons going into the fall. And it's been a big break. I mean, you look at the changes here in the last week. We're starting to get into real serious fall mode. If this storm's coming up the coast now, if they had been towards the middle or late October, it'd rip all the leaves off the trees, and we'd have a definite winter effect. You just see when the leaves are all gone, it's just, oh God, here we are. We're into the winter now. It's just until next May when things start to come back. But that's life. You just heard when we opened up here, Tommy Dorsey, I'm getting sentimental over you. Kind of relaxing after a tough week of getting through all the problems of your life, and you just like to hear something to relax on a little bit. And I'm going to play something because I have to get a drink and clear my sinuses here. And Matt, what have you got queued up here? Right here? Which one here? Okay. We're going to play a tune here. My Baby Just Cares for Me. 1930. Here we go. Give us a call here, 9960500.
baby don't care for shows. My baby don't care for clothes. My baby just cares for me. My baby don't care for silks and laces. My baby don't care for high-toned places. My baby don't care for rings or other expensive things. She's sensible as can be. My baby don't care who knows it. My baby just cares for me. My baby don't care who knows it. My baby just cares for me.
Okay, we're back. My baby just cares for me. Very good afternoon to you, caller.
Oh.
Are you there?
Fine.
Hey.
I wanted to ask you, I had an argument with a friend of mine about, in the mid-'70s, Chevrolet made a very small car, and I can't recall the name of it, and it wasn't the Vega. It was.
Oh, you're thinking of...
It was about the size of a Volkswagen. Very cheap
yeah,
car.
the began with a C. Hey, God, I know what you're talking about. Yep. It wasn't it was late 70s, wasn't it?
Probably, yeah.
Late 70s.
They used to describe it as a throwaway car. You didn't fix it. You just.
Well, the Vega was a throwaway car.
No, this wasn't a Vega.
Well, I know, but the Vega was pretty much a throwaway car.
Oh,
You don't see any of them around on the road now. I used to call it a biodegradable car. I kind of buy it and just watch it kind of vanish away in your yard as it rusted away. Not the. It sounded like not Corvette, not Corvair. It's a little small Chevy,
Right.
Like they shrunk down a Chevy Monza. It wasn't a Monza. I can see it in front of me, but I can't pull the name out of my head. Maybe some caller or some listener out there.
And another thing, I can't recall if it was in a movie or I saw it on the road, but in the mid-'80s, did Buick make a two-door little, like a Corvette type car?
Yeah, they make the, began with an R, not a Regal, not a...
Riviera?
Well, they had a Riviera, which they built for years, right?
Yeah. No, this was a two-seater, I saw.
Right. I sold one, it was Dr. Fraga's I sold. Regalia, something. No, they had Regals. Regals is a common name. Began with an R.
But
my mind isn't functioning that well this way.
So it wasn't my imagination. Buick made this two.
They made a two-seater. I saw one. I just sold one. I just told you it was a mint car we sold. I think last year. Not Regalia. There wasn't many. They weren't made.
No.
Back in the 80s and early 90s of that. Well, Buick person will call me. I mean, Billy's a Buick guy if he's listening. But no, I know the Chevy though. I can remember it's close to Corvette, close to.
Because I worked with a guy who had one. That's how I.
Yeah. And
I was telling a friend of mine. He says, "No." I says, "Well, I didn't want to get into a serious argument, but." And in fact, the interior was almost like cardboard. I mean, it was so cheap.
Yeah, on which one now?
The small Chevy.
Oh, the small Chevy. Well, the Vega was a great-looking car. The designers did a good job in making a good-looking car, but the construction was just they just maximized making it cheap. The engine was all aluminum, which wasn't cheap then, but it was they just had it down in the way it was cast.
They even made a little wagon, a Vega wagon.
Right. And the seats are all styrofoam. Not styrofoam, foam. They were foam padding, cheap vinyl interior. Yeah, it was. They handled okay, but the whole thing was just. It was a good-looking car, and that's about where it ended. Their styling was great.
It was competition for the Pinto.
The Pinto, and trying to go after the foreign cars too,
yeah.
Which they made tepid approach to doing. To go against foreign cars. And that Buick, I'm trying to think, when Matt we'll try to look that name up. It's a two-door Buick they made in the 80s. I think they took it to 91 or 92. And it was a sports Buick. It wasn't the Riviera, because it was a smaller car than that. And it was just a two-seater. Didn't really, it just had a...
And the one that I saw had the headlights that they closed when they were off. It when you put them on, the little door opened up.
Yeah, you're talking to Buick now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was Regatta. Regatta. R-E-A-T-T-A. Regatta. How do you say Regatta? Regatta.
All right.
Buick Regatta. They made a two-door Buick. What was the year of production on that? 88 to 91. Yeah, I knew they didn't make it past the early 90s, yeah. That was in the Buick Regatta. R-E-A-T-T-A. And the Chevy... not a Corsair. What do they call that little Chevy? Maybe?
Corsair?
No. I got other callers. Maybe they have the answer.
All right. Thank you for taking my call.
Yeah, you're entirely welcome. Thank you. Very good afternoon to you, caller.
Hello.
Hi.
Chevette.
Yeah, Chevy Chevette. I think you're right. They made a four-door little Chevy Chevette.
Yeah,
Why, do you have one? Let me see what it looks like.
One against the Pinto.
You went against the Pinto. Yeah, it came out later, though.
Yeah, okay. Have a good one.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, he's right. Chevy Chevette. I couldn't pull the name out. That's it, Matt. Matt's got the picture of it, and that's the car I had in my mind. Couldn't pull the name out of my head, though. Okay, who's up next? A very good afternoon to you, caller.
Hi.
Hi.
That would be the Pontiac Fiero.
Well, the Pontiac Fiero was later. You're right. They made a two-seater. They had the GT version, which was a nice car. They had a problem with fires in them, but the Fiero, that came after the Riata, though.
Oh, okay.
And it was smaller too than a Riata.
Right.
And it was more of a to go after the little Toyota Celica, the little coupe they had then, the little body,
right.
The Supra and all that.
Yep.
And it was that was another nice looking car, and their GT was a hot car if you remember those.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they were hot. They were hot cars. Well, very good, very good. Okay, well, the audience certainly is up on the game, that's for sure.
Okay, thanks.
Yep, you're welcome. Bye-bye. Well, pardon my sniveling here, if you hear it on the microphone, but this is the season. Court rules Batmobile can't be copied. Batman wouldn't have to worry about the Batmobile knockoffs after a federal appeals court ruled Wednesday the Cape Crusaders vehicle is entitled to copyright protection. The Batmobile, like bat-like appearance and other distinct attributes, including its high-tech weaponry, make it a character that can't be replicated without permission from DC Comics, the copyright holder, the Ninth U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals said. As Batman so sagely told Robin, it is in our well-ordered society, protection of private property is essential. Judge Sandra Kitchenew wrote for the three-judge panel. Among the Batmobile traits she cited in her ruling was the sleekness and power which allowed Batman to maneuver quickly while he goes after the bad guys. So there you have it. They've copyrighted that, protection, the look of the car, so other toy makers and even car makers, for that matter, can't copy it without paying a license. to the owner of the copyright, which is DC Comics. So there you have it. Let's see. And the ruling came in DC Comics' lawsuit against Mark Towell, who produced replicas of the Batmobile as it appeared in the 1966 television show featuring Adam West as Batman and the 1989 movie with Michael Keaton in the lead role. The Ninth Circuit told Towell, said Towell sold cars at the Southern California businesses for about $90,000 each. So I guess he was not making replicas of it. And they went after him for that. Larry Zerner, an attorney for Towell, said his client copied the car's design, which can't be copyrighted. Characters exist in comic books and movies and TV shows, he said. They don't exist in the real world. The real world is, it's just a car. In its ruling, the Ninth Circuit Court told Towell advertise replicas of Batmobile and use the domain name and the BatmobileReplicas.com to market his business. He also advertised the replicas would get noticed because of the Batmobile's fame, the court said. So he wrote off the name and he wrote off the look in his advertisement. So that's, I guess, what
I can understand that a little bit.
Yeah,
because
so that's what got him
think
down.
Do celebrity impersonators have to go through a copyright process? Because I feel like it's the same thing. Like a car is impersonating a famous car. So.
Yeah. I think you can mimic someone without having to pay them royalties, right? If you're going to do a knockoff of I don't know, Elvis, let's say.
Maybe.
You don't have to pay the family or his corporation, his surviving corporation, any royalties. If you're going to make, I guess, if Elvis had a certain designs and clothing or something, and he had his name on it, you'd probably have to pay royalties if you made a knockoff of it.
Yeah.
You know, or if his music is an example, his artwork, right? That's
right,
copyright.
right.
So you can't just
go
out and use.
So Ralph's Auto Service is not going to start making Batmobiles.
No,
basically.
No. We'll make a new Bedford mobile, complete with machine guns. Well, I guess maybe you'll need them. I don't know. Anyway, I don't want to go there. 9960-500, 9960-500. Give us a call. Let's see, what else about cars? You know, this is the tire season. You know, people, let's have heavy rain. I've told a lot of people I've seen over the summertime, and they say, well, I'm thinking about tires. Look at their tires. Well, your tires aren't the greatest, that's for sure. They're getting close to the wear bars. And I'll say to them, because, you know, you try to work with people, and I'm not just trying to take your money all the time. I need money to operate, no questions about that. And I've saw a lot of folks this summer, and I'd say, hey, you know what? You can hold off till late September, going into fall, when the weather starts to change and we're getting heavy rains and you want more safety. Then make the investment. If you want to get a couple more months, your tires are perfectly safe to do so. And now's the time, if you haven't thought about or looked at your car's tires, is to look at them and make sure that you have some tread there, and that the wear bars, if you look at the face of the tire, you'll see these bars that go across from left to right, okay, from sidewall to sidewall. And that's the indicator. If the wear bar is even with the tread, then you have a problem. The tires, that they're ready to be replaced, and you won't do well in heavy rains. Okay, you'll hydroplane. You'll lose control of your automobile. If you go to steer to move out of the way quickly, or if you slam the brakes on, you can easily lose control. So that's the basic indicator. Or the old, take the Lincoln's penny, okay, and if it's the tread is if it covers his head, you have some tread. If it's down, if it's not covering his head, then you have a problem. But they say the penny is not a good indicator to use. You should use a nickel. It forces you to have a deeper tread for safety's sake. But that's a crude way to adjust it. We can look at your tires and tell you instantly. We have measuring devices that go tell you how many 30 seconds you've got left and the such to give you a more professional opinion on it. But I mean, it's pretty obvious to anyone's eyes. You don't have to go get super technical on this when tires are worn. And it's not just the tread. We see a lot of people come in with tires, and they look perfectly fine to look at the face of the tire. They have plenty of tread, but the sidewalls are all cracked. They're all dry rotted. And it's really difficult to explain to someone sometimes who looks at the tire and they say, whoa, the tire, look at the tire here. It's got plenty of tread. And you say, yeah, but look at the sidewalls. They're all cracked. Yeah, well, what difference does it make? It makes plenty of difference. Your tire is dry rotted, okay? And they just blow out. I've seen this happen many times. You hit a good pothole or a curb or something. You hit it a little too hard, and people pop those tires. They just blow up. Dry rot is a serious problem. Generally, the rule is if your tires are more than 5 years old, replace them. That's what the industry says. I think some places even say less than that. Some auto people say less, but generally the rule is 5-6 years out max. If your tires are that old, and even if they have plenty of tread, you should consider having them replaced, or at the very least looked at seriously for dry rot. When people bring their cars to us for oil changes, and by the way, we do oil changes for just $19.99 plus tax and disposal. We do check your tires and check the air pressure on them, and because a lot of people just don't do that today, we make sure they're set to the manufacturer's recommendation for the best performance and gas mileage. And we do check for dry rot and tell people if you see any cracks or nails or things like that, we bring it to your attention, obviously, for safety's sake. And also we have some great tire prices. We beat out the big guys, the big tire chains. Very, very competitive. We have pretty much all makes and models. We have certain tires we recommend over others for people who are looking for value. You can just blindly go out and spend over $100 each for each tire easily, depending on what you're driving. And sometimes if you need a very high quality tire with high performance features, then fine. If you're a commuter and you go to Boston back and forth, you're doing some serious driving, it's worth the investment. Other times, if you're just beep-bopping around town and doing, your work locally, you don't drive too far, then you can probably compromise and put a tire that's certainly adequate for your car. Okay, you're not putting a tire that's under the performance level that your automobile can deliver, because we wouldn't do that either. In other words, if you come in with a car that's got a powerful engine and sporty, and then you put a cheap tire on it, well, you're defeating the whole car's design. And a lot of people do that. A lot of people, they're advised to do it, or they're just misadvised, and the shop puts it on. So you should match your car, your tires in particular, to the car you've got, and also to your life situation. Okay, so this compromise is essentially what I'm saying. Like life is a compromise, so is your choices. Tires now, tires are from all over the place. I mean, a lot of tires are from Asia now, some from Europe, some from America. The American tire industry has been pretty much decimated by imports coming in from all over the world. But there's still some good choices out there. It just takes a little research. Some places have, particular favorites. But we're open. We try to advise people according to what they want to spend in their budgets. And we have tires that start off as cheap as, $70 a piece, $60 a piece, depending on the size of the tire, on up. And the size makes a difference, obviously. Some of these newer tires, these 17, 18, 19-inch tires can get pricey. And the low-profile tires, which are more performance-oriented, are usually pretty pricey on these cars. And low-profile meaning the distance, if you think of a low-profile tire, what I mean by that is the distance from the rim, the lip of the rim, to the face of the tire is not as great. Okay, so like a 50 series tire is going to be closer. There's less rubber, less sidewall, if you will, from the rim to the face of the tire than on a 75, like a 225, 75, 16 or 17. And so in the rain and the snow, you get less performance out of them as far as traction goes. And that's why you don't see many 4x4s with that type of sidewall, that's the size, because of the loss of traction. They do handle better going around corners. See, that's the compromise. Everything's a compromise. So you need good advice. And sometimes when you go to these high volume type places, they don't have the time to give you the advice, okay? Unless you've done your homework yourself and you're knowledgeable on it, fine, okay? But if you go in there, sometimes the people they hire are just off the streets. They don't have much background knowledge of the auto industry. They just want a body behind the counter to take your order or tell you the latest sale of the week that they're supposedly running. So But that's what it comes down to. There isn't a lot of money in tires, so I'll be up front with you. When you sell tires, you don't get rich on them. That's for sure. Most of the money goes to pay for the tire, frankly, mount and balance it. But we do handle all makes and models of tires, and we do sell a lot of tires.
I do have to say that there's nothing like when you get a fresh pair of tires on your car.
Yeah.
It feels right.
Yeah.
It's like a new pair of shoes.
Exactly right. It's like putting a new pair of shoes on. That's right. I
remember the first time I got, I think, a real paycheck after I got my first car, I bought 4 new tires. And, I thought I was living the dream, really.
Well, no, it does make the car handle and ride better, and, there's no questions about it. Yeah, a lot of the
my first car, everybody's first car is a piece of junk, but then when you put, like, some new tires on a piece of junk, it's just, you feel like $1 million.
Yeah.
Or $100, you feel.
$100. Well, due to economic times, a lot of people put used tires on their cars, which I guess is okay, but you have to know if you're a high-speed driver, commuter, you're really making a compromise on that, and especially if you're mismatching the tires that you have. And I think it's only in, unfortunately, economic times like these, and I've seen people come in with 4 different tires on their car. It's amazing. And I'll say, you realize you got 4 different brand tires on your cars? They're all different treads, and they all react differently when you slam the brakes on. So if you do a panic stop, one tire lock up and skid, and the ABS is trying to decide, you're having all these issues with the face of the tire to the road, because tires are like shoes. It's like I don't know, it's like a woman who has let's say she has a walking shoe on or a jogging shoe, and she has one high heel shoe on. They both fit her feet,
right.
The right size, shoe.
It's almost like if you're wearing a Chuck Taylor on one foot and then a cleat on the other.
Yeah. And they both fit you.
Right.
But they're going to react different if you start to run and stop.
Then you might stumble a little bit.
Yeah. So, and it's no different with your tires. So you have to think in that direction. All right, a little bit about tires and repairs. There's another here. There's a surprising article here. Alabama auto components workers vote to join union. Alabama, imagine that. Workers at the automotive components manufacturing plant in northeast Alabama cited issues such as wage caps, and growing use of temporary workers in their vote to join the labor union. Commercial Vehicle Group, Inc. plant employees at Piedmont voted Wednesday to join the United Auto Workers. The plant, roughly 85 miles northeast of Birmingham, produces seats for large commercial trucks. Workers said in a release that they voted 89 to 45 to join the UAW because of health care costs in addition to pay issues and the wider use of temps who don't qualify for benefits. The company's chief human resource officer, Laura Mackis, said in an email statement that officials don't believe the union representation is in the best interest of employees, but officials respect workers' rights to vote on the issue. Well, there you have it. I think this temp work is a real issue. A lot of companies are going with these temporary workers. They hire these firms that bring in temporary workers, and they just pay them a flat. The workers get paid, $15, $13 an hour, and they might hire the company that brings them in, and they're paying them. Maybe they pay them $16, $17 a worker. The company keeps the $3-4 to run the show, but they don't pay any benefits. And I was confronted with that when I went to Comcast, and I'm talking to the guy about my cable bill, which is getting to me. I'm tired of paying for part of their corporate jet fleet, and looking for ways to reduce my cable bill, which I think is outrageously high. And I'm talking to the guy, and I'm back and forth, and I said, well, I guess I'm playing for one of your corporate jets. Unfortunately, you guys don't get it. He says, I don't even work I'm not really an employee of the company. I said, what are you talking about? He said, I'm a temporary worker. I said, you got to be kidding me. He says, you don't work for Comcast? Well, not directly. I work for a temp company. So even they're doing it here in our area. And that disappointed me. So I said, you don't get any of the benefits, health, or care, or this or that? He says, no. He says, no, I get nothing. He says, other than what the state just passed for mandatory sick time for workers. So if you work at a Dunkin' Donuts, and even if you're a temporary worker, temporary, like part-time, you do get some benefits. So that disappointed me, considering how high the bills are, that they're doing it. So, I mean, everybody's looking to cut costs and maximize profits, and it's that whole massive Wall Street attitude. And, this is why we're in the situation we're in. A very good afternoon to you, caller.
Hi, Ralph. I didn't call to speak about that subject, but
Okay.
I know how you can cut your cable bill, at least for a little while.
Go ahead.
They have they send these promos around. It says you sign up for this package and deluxe package, and you get a $200 Visa credit card to go with it. And I says, well, I've been with you guys for like 10 or 15 years. How come I can't get that? Well, sir, that's only for new customers. And I says, well, what do you define a new customer? And I forget what he told me. I think it was 30 days. If you leave them for 30 days,
Yeah.
you can come back as a new customer. So if you were to go to Florida, just cancel everything outright, or if you just went to Dish or somebody else for 30 days, 31 days, you come back, you're a new customer, you get all those special things for a cut rate, I think, for the first year, plus you get that $200 or $250 Visa gift card. Hey, if you can do it, it's a good deal.
The only thing is, they're going to rope you in for a 2-year contract, usually, right?
Yeah, they rope you in for, I believe, a 2-year contract, and the price decrease is only for 1 year. So yeah, they're gonna get you back.
Yeah, they're going to get the money back off you.
Yeah,
they got to figure it out. I think the only way around this is to really look at your cable bill and justify what channels you need. Now, Canada, I guess through maybe it was a nationwide law. I don't know if it was just in the provinces, but it's a la carte. You can buy the stations you want.
Wow.
Okay, so if there's certain stations...
you couldn't do that in this country.
No, I know that.
They want you to buy all kinds of crap that you don't even need.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. So Canada allows you, I was reading one of the newspapers up there, and they allow you to pick the stations you want. And so you can go a la carte, and if you want BBC World Service and it's $3 more a month, fine. Okay, you want it, you pay for it. That to me is a fairer approach. But what they do is they hit you with, like you say, you got 2 dozen of stations you very, very rarely hit on.
Well, they do the same thing when you buy a car, and they have the the super deluxe package, and it's got body side molding, it's got fancy mirrors, it's got that. You probably only want one of those things, and you have to buy the package that has the 5 of those things in it to get the one thing you want.
Right. Or if the reverse is also, like, say you want, you buy a base car and you say, gee, one thing I would like is maybe power locks. And, remote control, walk up to your car, power locking out. I can be okay with manual windows, but then you find out to get the power locks with the remote control, you've got to get the power windows come with it. The cruise control packages in there.
Sure.
You went from a base model now to an LE or an LX. So you're on another, $1,800.
To get one thing, you're gonna spend another $2,000. But the reason I called was somebody gave me a magazine from 1976 called Special Interest Autos, put out by Hemming Motor News. It's got some interesting stuff in here. Now, I'm not going to bust your hump like Billy does and ask you all these questions that only he could know. But I did want to read you something here that, it touched on a number of things that I never thought of, and I just thought it was pretty interesting. And it said that war improved the hydromatic transmission, and they're talking about World War II.
Yep.
The hydromatic transmission, developed by GM's Detroit Transmission Division, in cooperation with Oldsmobile and Cadillac, appeared first as an option in the 1940 Olds, and in 1941 was also offered by Cadillac. These pre-war hydromatics, while a great improvement over the GM semi-automatic of 37 to 38, suffered various symptoms of rough and erratic shifting, band slippage, and early mechanical failure. It took World War II to improve the transmission to rival the reliability and durability of conventional transmissions.
Uh-huh.
The first military adaptation of the hydromatic came in the pre-war M5 light tank, which used two hydramatics driven by twin Cadillac V8s.
Wow.
Automatic transmissions in tanks proved a boon because they let the driver devote full time to combat and terrain. He no longer had to worry about engine stall-outs and cumbersome clutching and gear shifting. Imagine that, trying to drive a tank and it's stalling and you can't get the gears and everything.
You got to be the right gear, otherwise you'd stall it, right?
Yeah. So the driver could apply full power even during shifts. The M5 tank thus became one of the world's easiest to control and maneuver.
Huh.
During World War II, twin hydramatics and Cadillac V8s were soon used in the M5's success of the M24 tank. Hydromatic transmissions also appeared in, the howitzer and some different ones here. And the BFT-2 snowmobile.
Huh.
The T-17 armored car used two hydromatic transmissions in conjunction with twin Chevrolet 6s.
Wow.
Before VJ Day, more than 73,000 hydramatics were installed in military vehicles of various types. In those 4 war years, the hydramatics' life and reliability improved 15-fold. Accelerated dyno tests showed that later transmissions lasted 15 times longer than earlier ones. Shafts and gears became stronger, better materials were developed for clutches and thrust washers, and manufacturing techniques became more sophisticated.
Huh.
After the war, Cadillac re-engineered the hydromatic for passenger cars, basing improvements on wartime experience. They added a torsional vibration damper, cured leaks, beefed up pumps and bands, and extended lubricant life. By 1946, the average hydromatic could go 30,000 to 50,000 miles between overhauls, which bested GM's pre-war automatics by quite a margin. But 30 to 50,000, we see cars these days, with minimal maintenance go 150,000 miles or so on transmissions, and
right, that's true.
It's hot. We take that for granted, and you look at it in 46 there, 30 to 50,000 miles between overhauls. Wow, that was a real improvement, like they said, over what it used to be. So I just want to say, we take things for granted now. How
they're reliable, yeah.
How reliable they are, and just back then it was very unreliable.
Yeah. Well, I remember when I was a young fellow, my dad would be taking cars in trade, and they'd only have 50, 60,000 miles. People didn't want them anymore. I mean, they didn't drive like they did today either. We didn't have all the super highways, but we'd have cars come in. If a car had over 75,000, that was considered high miles.
Yeah. Yeah. And, so, I'm sorry.
Different world. Different world today.
Yeah. You want to hear another one here?
Quick.
Packard's fuel injection experiments.
Huh.
It's been a well-kept secret that Packard was working on a fuel injection system for the 56 model. Experiments began in early 54 under Henry Brigham at the direction of blah, blah, blah. If all had gone to plan, fuel injection would have become standard equipment on the 56 Packard Caribbean and Studebaker Golden Hawk and optional on other cars. Early experiments involved Lucas and American Bosch. Well, that explains it right there. Lucas, right?
Yeah, Lucas. Yeah. Electronics, forget it.
Yeah, later Packard developed its own fuel injection system, and at some time during the program, Simmons Accessories, Carter Bendix, and Marvel Schlieber also demonstrated their fuel injection systems to Studebaker Packard. Tests showed only slight acceleration increases and a Packard injected equipped clipper. Fuel economy increased, however, an average 9% with a whopping 14% gain at 60 miles an hour. Top speed also went up from 103 miles per hour in a carbureted car to 116 with fuel injection.
Wow.
After 56, Hewlett-Packard continued activity on fuel injection but the program shrank in priority. Bendix at one point quoted Studebaker a price of $50 per unit on its electro ejector system for $57, but test failures forced Bendix to retract its estimate. Other units fell into the $250 to $350 price range, which topped the Studebaker package target by a multiple of 5. Eventually, fuel injection dropped from their plans altogether.
Yeah, because of cost.
At least one prototype unit still exists in the hands of a packet collector. But like I say, when I read the Lucas part there, I know about Lucas like you do. They're the biggest craps around. I mean,
built into Queen's tradition, unhampered by progress.
I remember working on something with Lucas. I think I had Positive Ground or
That's
something.
That's exactly right. I remember
and
working.
I was like, what the heck is this? This is very weird.
I remember. Well, yeah, they had a lot of cars in the '60s with foreign cars with Positive Ground.
Oh.
And you really had a lot of guys blew up batteries, alternators, or fried the wiring systems. I remember melt down the wiring systems because they weren't paying attention when they hooked up, especially dead batteries, and they damage the other car as well. Yeah, that was a problem with Positive Ground, kind of. Which today, I don't know if nothing in my mind of equipment that I know of today that uses Positive Ground.
Yeah, only the real old stuff. If you ever come across something real old,
yeah, I've dealt with some old equipment that has Positive Ground, and you have to look at it twice.
I just want to read you this last thing. Your car is interchangeable. The distributor, universals, pump, radiator, muffler, on, starter and generator made for other cars will fit yours. Look up your serial number in the STAT interchange book and see how many of the 500,000 parts are yours. Examples, the same carburetor fits 16 makes for 25 years. One pump fits 153 models for 17 years. And it goes on and on. I'm thinking today it's one car. One car has 5 different things, for the different models. It's not one pump fits 153 models for 17 years. It's like everything is different for every car. And
today,
today, and it's just so funny to see how everything was interchangeable for many years,
right?
And now nothing is interchangeable.
Yeah, it's much less. There's the parts are global now, and they can get them cheaply made overseas, so they change them quick. And and a lot of stuff is electronic now, and it's just a different ball game. The manufacturers, though, are trying to streamline it. You might buy a fancy model with a fancy looking body, but underneath they'll use the same components on that one as they do their cheaper version to save costs internally. They're doing that, or the same chassis, and they'll modify it. Got to let you go.
Okay, thanks a lot, Ralph.
Yep. Bye-bye.
All right, bye.
Well, we're almost out of time in this hour. Next hour, I'd like to probably do a survey to see what kind of car you drive and who you're going to vote for. We do this every election season to try to get a pulse. And I try to come up with I look at the statistics there and relate it to the car you drive. That's my own way of doing these surveys. I really don't care who you're going to vote for. That's not the issue. I want to know what you're driving. But anyway, if you're in the market for a car, you should come by and see us. We got some great used cars right now. Got an 04 Dodge Ram SLE Quad for just under $12,000. Got low mileage. Got a 2012 Ford Fusion, real clean car. It's only got 58,000 miles, under $12,000. So you don't have you get virtually a very clean, low mileage car, good on fuel, and you get a payment that's very, very reasonable in the $200 range if you're going to finance. 01 Wrangler with 47,000 miles, priced at under $13,000. 05 Chevy Impala, clean, 71,000 miles, under $6,000. Well, we're running out of time, but it's over. Got an 01 Continental. That's we have now. We got actually 2 of them. The other one we're getting ready. It's for under $3,000. This 01. And we'll get back to. I got another. Got some other cars we'll get into here after the news. We got the news coming up in a few seconds. So stay with us. Catch us on the other side of the hour for All About Cars with Ralph Medeiros. And we'll be back. Okay, welcome back to All About Cars. My name is Ralph Medeiros. I own and operate Ralph's Auto Center, and I operate with my son Andrew. And we're located at 867 Church Street in North End, New Bedford, and this is the second hour of All About Cars. We have a caller on the line. We'll take this caller. A very good afternoon to you, caller. Hi, are you there? I'll give you a second to get to the phone because of the news, and you probably put it on standby. But we're located at 867 Church Street in North End, New Bedford, just off Exit 5, off of Route 140. Hi, caller, you there?
Ralphie.
Billy.
Yes, sir.
How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. You?
Oh, yeah? I'm under the weather a little bit. My allergies are really kicking me
yeah?
down. Yeah, change of the seasons, you know? The ragweed and the asthma and everything else is kind of...
Oh, yeah, kicking in, huh?
Got me downshifted a couple of gears, but a little hard to think clearly, taking those decongestants. And
Yeah.
last night I usually go home and, prepare some work, and I figured last night I'll have a shot of whiskey to kind of numb the pain, and the glass is a little too deep, I guess, and knocked me out. But I'm here.
So what's new going on with your shop?
Wow, we've been busy, praise the Lord.
Yeah?
Yeah, we've been busy.
Good.
We think we're going to have a new technician starting shortly, so that'll take us. That'll allow.
You got a new guy coming in?
Yeah, I think it's going to happen. I should know Monday for sure, but yeah, that'll take some of the burden away, and allow us to catch up.
Mm-hmm.
And get involved into.
You have a guy show up? You have a mechanic?
We had
The guy on disability?
he's supposed to be back. I think the doctor's going to release him in the middle of the month.
Oh.
Yeah, from what I hear. Yeah, he got hurt outside of work, and hopefully he's going to be back to normal.
Mm-hmm.
But that's definitely put us behind. But other than that, Billy, we brought some cars in. We got a few cars that we've brought in. Andrew's been a busy guy on the road looking for different machines. And
Yeah?
yeah, we're trying to get these cars ready. That's been the big problem because of the shortage of help to get the cars through the service department. All dealerships, experience these problems on and off, more on than off sometimes. But all these people are out of work, but yet nobody's qualified to work. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy, crazy, crazy. And the city of New Bedford is certainly no exception to that rule. So many people are out of work and they don't have skills. It's mind-boggling. They can't even fill out a job application properly.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's I've never seen anything like it in my life. And we're spending more money on education than ever. I can't figure it out. But that aside, we got a few cars in. Got an 06 Maxima. I know you're not a foreign car guy, but I got an 06 Nissan Maxima.
Mm-hmm.
Priced at under $9,000. And the mileage is low. It's just got mileage in the 80s. Got a 05 Toyota Corolla. Real nice car. I've driven it. It runs like a top. It really does. And this Corolla is selling for under $65,000. It's a 2005. And the mileage is low on it. It's way below average. I got a 99 Corolla, which is a real good buy. Priced at, it was $45,000. We just reduced it down to $39.99. And it's low mileage. It only got about just over 100 on it. And it's clean as a whistle, and it runs strong. The air's cold. For where you're going to buy a nice car for under $4,000. They're just not out there, especially Toyota Corollas. A clean one, not a rat, a nice car. And it's hard to find a nice car today that you're going to drive your money out and then some for under $4,000. It's just they're very far and few between. 2010 Town and Country, Billy Chrysler van for a family person out there, and it's you'd have a payment around $200 a month. The car's priced at just under $10,000.
Mm-hmm.
And if you need a van, it's fairly new. Got an 01 Cherokee, a blue one. You should take a look at that car and drive it. Tell me what you think. A little sport Cherokee priced at under $7,000.
That's a square one.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's the last year of the square ones. That's correct.
Yep, with an iron engine.
Yep. 4-liter solid cast iron engine. You're right.
Yeah.
Bulletproof engine. 4-liter. 4-liter.
Very, very tough engines.
Yeah, you could put well over 200,000 on them.
Yeah, they can take a beating.
Yep. Yep, that's the old school, the old American stuff. All the new stuff is, all the new stuff gives you so many hours or so many miles, and that's it. You got to replace it or patch it up. These are the older engines. If you just stayed on the basics, they lasted. 2000 Toyota Camry XLE with just 79,000 miles, priced at under $7,000. That's a nice car, loaded right up. 03 Honda Accord, LX. 03, but 83,000, 84,000, right around there. Priced at under 7,000. Another good, nice car. 2011 Volkswagen Golf TDI diesel. So if you wanted those diesels, and this little Golf, it's a 2011, priced at under 13. There's a demand for those now because they can't sell the new ones. The new ones have been put on hold because of the emission problem on the Volkswagen diesels.
Yeah,
have been
right.
following that. But the used ones have starting to shoot up in value because people want them. Because they're talking a car that gets you 40 miles to the gallon on fuel, so they do very well. They're very fuel machines to drive, and that's why they're popular worldwide, in spite of their current woes at Volkswagen in Wolfsburg, Germany. 2000 Altima. There's another nice car we got into, Billy, a GLE. Got 91,000 miles. It's priced at under $4,200. That's a good buy, too. Nice car, well equipped. 05 Honda Element. That's like a van kind of vehicle. I can't call it a van. It's kind of a cube, but very roomy. It's an all-wheel drive, and it's. I mean, you can move out of your house and pack it in there. I mean, it's just incredible utility in that thing. And it's priced at under 85. It's a Honda Element all-wheel drive automatic, and that's a real good buy. Mileage just over 100, so it's low for the year. 03 Honda Civic coming in, CRV, excuse me. Honda CRV, like a small little wagon that they make. Nice car, priced at under 8, with only 52,000 miles on an 03. So I got some real good values there, Billy, and I got some other inexpensive cars coming and going, and trucks. Got a F-150 Super Cab, 4x4. Got the four-wheel FX4 package. My eyes are watering, can't breathe too well. I'm talking to you guys, but that's priced at under 12.5. Stuff like that, Billy. And a PT Cruiser, mint condition, priced at under 55 with 78,000 miles in 07. Got a lot of nice cars priced right. And I got a car that you'd like. An 07 Buick LaCrosse we got coming in, a gray one with 35,000. That's a nice clean car.
Yeah, I seen that one.
And we got several Subarus, Outbacks, and Foresters. Got several Foresters. Got a good selection. Got a Jeep Patriot we have that's priced under 10,000. A little mini Jeep. It looks like the old Cherokee. It's just kind of a modern version of it. It's an 08. Got a lot of nice cars in. They're priced right. So good value. We're on the web too, at RalphsCars.com. Mm-hmm. So that's what's happening, Billy.
Oh, good.
That's what's happening. But
well, let me ask you a question here.
Yeah.
International.
Okay.
Yeah. When did they get into the pickup truck business? Remember?
International pickups?
Mm-hmm.
I would say, and I'm not I mean, I was exposed. The Volk had internationals back in the 60s in some of the departments. They had a wagon they built, and they also made a pickup version of that wagon. I think they started in the 50s, I want to say.
No.
No? Later?
Oh, yeah, much later.
60s?
Much later.
In the 60s?
Much later.
Oh, earlier, you mean?
Earlier.
Oh, so you're going back like 40s,
I'm
30s.
Going back.
Okay.
Going backwards.
Okay. Yeah, see, I'm not aware when they started, Billy. On international, well, you're talking pickup now, like a light half ton, no heavy stuff.
No, pickup truck.
Like just for a homeowner or a farmer.
Well, a pickup truck that like any other company made back then.
Yeah, but back then, folks who bought pickup trucks were farmers. In the old days, pickup trucks weren't nearly as popular as they are now.
Yeah, a lot of deliveries and stuff like that.
Yeah. But people who lived in the country had a pickup truck, you had horses or whatever.
Well, 1939, they went into the pickup business with a G2.
Wow.
And they went out of business in 74. And then they went into the Scout. Remember that one?
Yep, I remember the Scouts, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So the Scout was the last of it then?
Yeah, well, the last pickup was built in 74.
Oh, wow, they took it that late, huh?
The pickup, they found it wasn't economical to keep making them because they made more business doing the big trucks.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. They made a pretty decent. They had some rust problems on those Scouts, though. They were.
Yep, and they went into the Scout, right?
They were strong trucks. They ran well.
Oh, look, if you look in the computer, the 39 International D2, red and black is a strong-looking truck.
Yeah. I had a Scout 4-cylinder. They made a V8 and they made a 4-cylinder, which was half the V8. They cut the V8 in half, and it was a slant 4. And I had one of those, and it was a tough little truck. The only thing, the sheet metal on them did rust. And this is those vehicles definitely needed undercoating to protect them.
Yeah, this was another had straight cast iron engine.
L-head, so flathead then. Huh?
Yep.
Yeah.
213 cubic engine, 78 horsepower with a downdraft carburetor.
Wow.
Yeah.
Downdraft, so the carburetor was.
Now, when that was brand new, get this how inflation has done it. It used to cost $620 brand new in 1939.
Huh.
Now, today's prices with the dollar, it goes from the low $6,500 to $16,000.
To buy one of those now, you mean?
Yeah.
To buy.
That's how the dollar is just not worth much.
Yeah. Well, you stick around, it's going to get worse.
Yeah.
Huh.
So imagine that from $620 to brand new, and if it was like brand new today, it would cost you $16,000.
The country's in such a hole; it's incredible.
Unbelievable, huh?
Everywhere. Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah. Well, I'm going to see. They're talking about raising rates by the end of the year, but I don't think they're in a position to raise rates.
I don't think so because things ain't that good.
No, I don't
but
think
of course,
they.
He called me. He talked, and he talked. Oh, things are really popping. I don't know where the hell's popping around here.
Well, there are some tradespeople that are busy, and they're going like the hammers of hell. I don't doubt that. We've been, we've picked up this year over last year, but it's hard to, if you're breaking even, you're a rock star because it's so hard to meet all your expenses. Between your insurances, your taxes. There's no end to it. It's difficult for the businesses as well as the individual, the worker. Especially where you don't see any significant investments in, backwater communities like New Bedford compared to Boston. I mean, the money stays in Boston. Boston, their chamber there and the people there keep the major developments up in their circle. And they don't want to see it leave and head down here or out to Worcester or Springfield. And the vibrancy stays up there. And that's what's happening. And,
well, the ordinary person he's still behind as far as his pay.
Oh, my God. That's...
You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Absolutely. As a matter of fact, I have an article here that you mentioned, that you bring that up, and I don't know if I can read it here. My eyes aren't watering too much. According to Janet Yellen, that's the chairman of the Federal Reserve, she took Ben Bernanke's position. We are still on pace to raise rates in 2015. Now, this is a big argument going back and forth. They say on pace, that means really nothing. But while the rate hike was supposed to happen this month, it got derailed by August market sell-off, volatile China, lackluster workforce numbers, and a variety of other factors. Despite the Fed's continuing to kick down the road, the increase, they continue to claim that we're going to, and that we're in the middle of an ongoing recovery. There's just one problem with that. Things are getting worse than pre-crisis levels for millions of the poorest Americans. What recovery? America's wealthiest are thriving, but most income gaps are still worse off. The bottom 10% are off, and since the crisis in 2007 began, they're off even worse. They're off 12% now, the bottom 10%. The bottom 20% aren't quite as worse off, but they're still worse off by 7%.
Yeah, but you know what's happening in this country, Ralphie?
Yeah.
All these refugees coming in, they aren't educated, they have nothing, so they're not bringing anything into us. They're just taking from us.
Well, a lot of them get on the system. I won't argue that.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. And they don't, you can't have, we're bringing engineers, we're bringing in qualified machinists. They're not. They're just from poor countries, and they're just coming right in.
Yeah, well, we're going to be...
That's bringing down the economy. That's the problem. And where they dump them? They dump them into the poor cities.
Yeah, well, you look around, you see what's happening in our communities.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I can
Some
see
of the
it.
recent immigrants, though, I see come in here and they work their asses off, and some of them are legal, some aren't. Like you look at some of the Guatemalans, they're landscaping and all that, and they keep their head below the radar, and they do work. But there's a lot of people here who come in, just like you say, Billy, and they get on the teat, and they, they get in public housing, they get food stamps, they get all the services, mass health, and we're carrying it. And it's you can't have a welfare state and open borders like we've had. And now we're going to take in, and I can understand why we're going to take in Syrian refugees, because we really screwed up over there. We've destroyed the Middle East. We've had 2 wars that cost us trillions, not billions, trillions, and the cost is still going on. And now we just wiped out a hospital there from Doctors Without Borders. Did you hear about that in the news?
Yeah, it was on the news, yeah.
I support Doctors Without Borders. I've worked with them, donated, and I read that, this week they've been talking about the Russians bombing innocents. They're coming out with that version in this country, the propaganda line that we're bombing innocents. Here we go, we wipe out a hospital there in Afghanistan, and it's just non.
I know, but the United States has some scrutiny that we do something, and they just pick right at it. Russia can bomb anything, and it kind of slides by. You know what I mean?
Well, the Russians asked us
I
to
don't
work
trust them
with
anyway. I never did.
Who's that, the Russians?
Yeah. Even Patton wanted to wipe them out when they had a chance, and they said no.
Well, they don't trust us either, Billy.
I know. It's a screwed up.
But Comrade Putin has been more frank and upfront with his intentions, I think, than Obama has. I mean, he wanted to work with us with Syria. We refused to work with him for going back several years. So now they got finally discussed it. He saw his.
Well,
they have
let's talk about Obama. He's been the worst president we've had. That's
well, he's had.
One more year, his baloney. We get. Yeah. Well, I don't see much in line there anyway either.
Well, yeah. Well, I know. Well, it's going to be interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, right? You're right.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting.
But as time goes on, it don't seem to get any better. And they keep saying progress is just around the corner, but that's one hell of a big corner.
Well, yeah. Well, as I was saying here, the only people who've profited is the top 10%, which is pretty much the banking and Wall Street crowd. And,
yes.
The rest of the middle class and even the upper middle class have had to hold on, and if they've stayed even, they're fortunate. I mean, right now, since 2007, okay, people below the poverty line has increased 9,381,000, according to the statistic, okay? So we've had an increase of nearly 10 million people below the poverty line since 2007. And that's under a very liberal Democratic administration. So it goes to show you, their policies have not worked. But so when you look at this, says here, however, when you look at the lowest 10% of income earners, the situation is much worse and precarious. In 2011, the bottom 10% of households were 9% worse off in terms of income than they were in the pre-crisis, the pre-crisis being before the meltdown in 2007. Since then, it hasn't gotten any better. They're now making 11.6% less income than they were in 2007. So much for all this quantitative easing. None of the money, it's all gone to Wall Street and the markets, and it hasn't gotten to Main Street like around cities like New Bedford.
Yeah, but you notice lately the food prices have taken a big jump.
Yeah.
I went shopping today and I got a shock. And it didn't go up a penny, it went up quite a bit, you know what I mean?
Well, we're in a very precarious situation, this country. It really is. I don't think people are aware of it. We're so muddled in other thoughts that, well, that's the way it is, my friend.
Well, Ralphie.
All right, Billy.
All right, we're going to solve all the problems here.
Yeah.
Catch you later.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, we'll take this caller. Very good afternoon to you, caller.
Good afternoon.
Hi.
Thanks for taking my call.
You're welcome.
I have 2 questions concerning cars.
Go ahead.
One is the new headlights, the bright headlights on the cars.
Yeah.
Don't the engineers realize that that's like someone, when they approach you, it's like someone putting on the high beams?
I agree with you. Some of these new headlights now have what they call jewel type headlights. They're very precise, and they direct the parabolics on the lens, direct the light in a certain pattern. But if they hit you right, they blind you. You're right. They're very intense. And that's on the low beam, the dip beam.
Exactly.
Yeah. I agree with you. Sometimes when I'm driving at night, some of these new cars, their lights are borderline very, very disturbing if they hit you in the eyes and it's oncoming. like a rainy day or something like that. You're right. If they're coming on a hill, let's say they're climbing up a hill and you're starting to come off, come up the hill and they're coming down, those lights hit you in the windshield, they can blind you. You're right.
Yeah.
I've experienced that. And some of what I find more annoying, though, to be honest with you, because the new ones are very precise, the lenses on them, okay? And some have what they call high-intensity output lamps on them. They're very expensive to replace, by the way. Some of the more expensive cars, like the Jaguars and the Beamers and cars like that, have these high-tech headlights. But what I find real disturbing, and I'm surprised that the state hasn't gotten on the inspection stations, is these younger people, pretty much, who replace their normal headlights, and they put this intense white light on there. They're very blinding. And they drive around town or the back roads, and they got their fog lights on as well. And if you flash the highlights on them, they're more than ready to hit you. If you flash headlights on them like you think they have the high beams on, they're more than happy to turn on their high beams and show you that they got more power. But they replace the lamps, and these lamps are not conforming to the state laws or federal laws. They're just brighter, and they blind you. They're very white lights. Sometimes they have different lens colors, like greens and blues, and you'll see them going around town.
I've seen them.
Yeah, and they don't get after them. I don't know why, but they don't. But they're very annoying. If you drive at night, they can blind you, absolutely.
Very much so.
Yep, very much so. So I agree with you. That's something that should be dealt with. Yep.
My second thing is your side mirrors.
Side mirrors, yep.
My wife complains about it just as much as I do about it. Just right, the lights, if you at nighttime and a car is approaching you from the side and hits you, the same thing, it's like blinding light.
In your rear view mirror?
Yes.
Yeah.
Have you experienced that?
Yeah, but you have to put your rear view mirror in a nighttime setting, you mean, right? You would have to adjust your rear view mirror so you don't get blinded if it doesn't have a nighttime setting. Some mirrors, you're talking about the rear view mirror now, correct? The one at the center of the windshield?
No, I'm talking about the one alongside.
On the left and the right?
Yes.
If a car comes up on you and hits you with highlights?
Yes.
Yeah, if they're on the dip beam, the low beam, they shouldn't bother you. Your side mirrors, if they hit the highlights, they could very well. Sometimes look at how you adjust your mirrors. Most people don't adjust their side mirrors properly, okay, to do away with the blind spot, okay? Some people have the mirrors adjusted too far in, the side mirrors adjusted too far in. You're supposed to adjust them with, you adjust them by, if you're in your driver's seat, you move your head to the left towards the side glass, and this is for the left side mirror, and you adjust it where you can see down the side of the car. So when you move back to the center of the wheel, behind your seat, that mirror is looking outward. And you check it when someone pulls up behind you in the rear traffic, like say on a highway, and you're in the middle lane, and they come up behind you. As soon as they vanish from your rear view mirror, they should show up in your side view mirror. Then you know you have your mirrors adjusted properly. Most people do not have their mirrors adjusted properly, and that's why they pull out. Sometimes they don't see somebody on the blind spot. Very, very, very common.
I think you solved that problem.
Yeah, well, give it a shot. And then you do, for the right side, you move your body, your torso or your head, to basically where your rear view mirror is, and then you adjust your right side mirror, where you can see down the side of the car. And then you move back to the center position behind the wheel in the driver's seat, and then when you look out that right side mirror, it'll be looking outward more. And same thing happens when somebody comes up on behind you, and if you're in the middle lane, or the outside lane, and they come up on the inside of you, as soon as they vanish from your rear view mirror, you should see them in your side view mirror, and you know you have it adjusted properly. And that'll take care of your blind spots. A lot of people get in my car and go, man, your mirrors are all screwed up. How the hell you drive it? And I bitch to them. I'll say, hey, you changed all my mirrors. Well, I can't drive the car the way you have it. Well, the way I have it, if you don't have to move the seat, if you have to move the seat, that's a different story, because you have to adjust it to your leg height and all that, your length of legs. But my mirrors are adjusted the way they should be for removing the blind spots. So just keep that in mind.
Thanks, Rob. Appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you.
Every day now.
Yeah. Bye-bye. Okay. Hey, well, if anybody wants to call me, with the election coming up, I'd like to take a little survey here. Who are you going to vote for in the mayoral race, and as well as the councilors? And like I said, I don't care who you're voting for. It means I really don't care. But I'd like to know what you're driving and who you're voting for, and from there we try to, derive some ideas and statistics. If you'd like to give me a call, just put your vote in as to who you're going to vote for your councilor, for council at large, and as well as maybe a ward. Not all the wards are contested, but and the mayor, which obviously is contested race, and they would just put a little statistics together coming up for the election here, and go from there. So you can call us here at 9960500. I can also take calls off the air if I play any music, so keep that in mind. You can ring me up. And we've got a caller here. Very good afternoon to you, caller.
Yes,
Hi.
hello, Ralph.
Hi.
Good afternoon.
Yeah.
May I opt out of the voting for councils? I haven't really decided yet.
Okay.
But could I just comment on Billy's call about international? I vaguely remember he was saying international pickups.
International pickups, correct.
And I vaguely remember, but I never had any experience with it. But the one thing I did it was just funny. I just want to comment on, they had a big van truck. You could put a lot of stuff in it. Sort of a box truck, I guess you'd call it nowadays.
Yep.
But it was a great big van truck. And remember the old Golub furniture on Logan Street? You remember that in the 60s?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a job out of high school, when I was in high school, out of the high school guidance office. It was great. It was good bulwark. You pushed around a lot of furniture and delivered a lot of furniture. But toward the end of the summer, it was great. They had a beat up Chevy van that was no good. Nobody liked it. But they had a new, fairly new International. That thing was so hot. I loved it. And towards the end, they said nobody would like to drive because they might crack it up. Anything, any truck. So they let me drive, and I was only 16 or 17, but I was a good driver. That truck had 3 shifts, three gears, 3 manuals, but it had a split shift in between each gear. You could so it effectively had 6 gears. You'd pop a button on the gear shift lever and hit the gas, and it would drop down into a lower gear or upper gear. I don't know. I forget how it was, but it was so good. It got pretty good mileage towards the end of the summer. And nobody else wanted it. They had a couple of satellite stores. They had one in Hyannis. So half the time you say, well, hey, take it down to Hyannis. We got to deliver. We got to get something to them that they had sold that they didn't have in stock in New Bedford. It was just a wonderful, wonderful truck. Yeah. Have you ever driven one of those?
I think not.
Those were just. I'd see it around after they went out of business. Somebody else bought it and used it for the same sort of thing, but some other company. I'd see it around for years and years. It was a tremendous truck.
Yeah.
I don't know who made the engine.
It's probably International.
Was that International Harvester? I never knew.
No, I don't know if that's a good question. If International was the International Harvester, I think International Harvester was a
mostly a
farming equipment,
those kind of tractors and so forth. But I just had to comment.
All right,
Billy had a good memory of. I can vaguely remember a pickup or a smaller sort of SUV, we'd call it now.
Well, I remember in the 60s, but I obviously I didn't have the depth.
But that truck, I had to comment on that truck. It was such a fine truck.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
All right, bye-bye.
Very good afternoon to you, caller.
Chicken in the bucket, chicken in the beans trucks.
Hey, what's up? Are you with us? Okay, he got his fame in there. Okay. Give me a call here, 9960500.
That was same guy last week, I think, right?
Yeah. Well, that's good. He's listening.
Apparently he likes his KFC.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. That's good for him. It might be affecting his thought processes, though. It's genetically modified food. So give us a call here, 9960500. And we'd like to see who you're going to vote for if you want to take the effort to call in and see who you favor for mayor and your councils at large. If you want to comment about that, I heard the talk a little bit earlier about the taxes. Well, I don't think there's any way you're going to ever see the tax rate go back to 101 in New Bedford. I mean, that's just not going to happen. Anybody who can think past, look at the numbers understands that that's impossible to happen. The rates are the way they are. It's a burden to the homeowners now, and that's in spite of the fact that the business community is paying over $33 per thousand, higher rate than Boston even charges. And to see it go back to a 101, it's just not going to happen. I just don't see it because you would definitely affect a lot of homeowners. And this is the results, where everything's maxed out, and where do you have to go? You got nowhere to go. So everybody's up against the wall. We've painted ourselves into a corner, and it all started back in the 80s, and I think George Rogers at the time was a big proponent of it, and David Alls too, I think, if I'm wrong, correct me. They were big proponents of classification of taxes back then, and New Bedford embraced it because it was, typical left-type policies, and the results are evident all around us. And it's been the decapitalization of New Bedford as far as the business community goes, and it's extremely hard to attract anyone here without giving them major, you have to throw some tips to them and to get them to invest in the community. To come into the city, it's difficult. It's very difficult to attract businesses to town when other towns, even Dartmouth with a 1.5 to 1 rate, which has significantly raised taxes for business community in Dartmouth. The rates are still pretty much substantially less than New Bedford. I'd say pretty much like 50% less. And Westport is 101 and has a far lower tax rate. Now, it doesn't have as much business as does Dartmouth and for that matter, New Bedford. But, these are the realities that exist. Taxes are high for everybody across the board at the local level, the state level, and the federal level. And where there's going to ultimately be some reforms, or we're going to continue down the road of serfdom. And we're well down the road to serfdom now. Everybody's pretty much poor unless you're at the real top echelon, or you have a real good cushy state job, federal job, that's paying you north of 100K or 200K, and you're doing quite well, thank you. Most people in the private industry know reality, and the reality right now is quite difficult. We're in a very precarious position in this country right now. And certainly, if you look at like I'm reading this article here, what's the difference between 2007 and today? One stark contrast is the fact that the Fed's balance sheet, that's the Federal Reserve now, has exploded, adding $3.5 trillion of phony money to its balance sheet. This is money they create through fractional banking and quantitative easing. That's about the size of Germany's economy. With quantitative easing, QE, as part of the same experiment, it kept rates artificially low, near zero. And if you have any money in the bank, you already know that. You're lucky to get a 0.25, 0.5 on your interest for a record amount of time to encourage lending and economic growth. However, in its 7 years, and we're starting to see the fruits of this experiment, especially in terms of wealth inequalities. Studies and economists are starting to sound off on noting that QE have been a failure for America's poorest. We've explained the basics in the previous chart, but here's there's another articles you can read here. It goes on to read in Forbes and other business articles here you can read into. If anyone is interested in these things, you can certainly research it or contact me. I'll give you the resources, but without getting into details here. But the fact is, the money, all this easing has pretty much stayed on Wall Street and boosted up the markets for investors, with people with equity. But the money hasn't come to Main Street. Certainly hasn't come to like Main Street for communities like New Bedford. Haven't benefited in this in large part. But that's the way life is, unfortunately. And there'll be, if reforms don't come about from people who understand what's happening here and try to change it, then they'll be forced by the marketplace. Eventually it'll come. And once the dollar loses its reserve currency status, you're going to see life in America change radically. And I don't think a lot of people understand this and how much it's going to affect us. And we'll probably have another year of minor increases in Social Security payments when most people are being pressed. A lot of people are retired, and Social Security is just a supplement to your retirement income. And of course, your taxes, if you live in the urban areas like New Bedford, are going up much higher than, on average, than your money that you're receiving from Social Security. And certainly, if you have any savings, you're getting almost negative. Actually, you're getting negative returns if they're paying you 0.5. But let's say you're a rock star, you have it invested in some instrument that's giving you 1%, 1.5%, and with inflation running, if you go by the official statistics released by the Federal Reserve, inflation's running at less than 2%. You're negative. So you're poorer as working people who are poor, working for wages because they're not getting pay raises in the private sector, can't afford to pay it in many instances. Not all. There's no one shoe fits all. The economy is, it's very diverse throughout the state and the country. But you can look around, look at the storefronts if you drive through the city that are vacant. Big issue. A lot of businesses vacant. They're not, I'm an urban businessman, and I strive to try to get suburbanites to realize the value of doing business in a city and keeping the city strong. And attracting people from Fairhaven, Dartmouth, Freetown, Rochester, Westport to come to New Bedford, do business with myself and my company and other people in the community to create a city with opportunities. Unfortunately, many of the people in New Bedford drive out of town to do business for all kinds of services. And that's sad. They don't support their local businesses. And it's just, call it economic ignorance or call it just what they feel is in their best interest by going out of town. Maybe they'll spend $2 in gas to save $1 on buying an item. I don't know. But the level of economic ignorance out there in our politicians is astounding. It's astounding. And I don't care how many degrees they have. And I guess you can break it down to little sound bites. Like in my mind, sometimes I just always ask myself is, the person signed the front of the check or they signed the back of the check? And very often, most politicians sign just the back of the check. That's the way it is. It's the way it is. But I don't know. I think we have to change the total mindset, the vibration of the community if you're going to see it improve. And it's going to be a long task. And I don't know if the politics around here would allow that, because everybody has their little turf and they protect their little turfdom and their little fiefdom and their little piece of power. And it takes so long to get things done. And other communities, you travel, other people travel, and they say, gee, I was down in a certain part of the South, and they seem vibrant down there. Well, yeah, it's a different attitude. It's a different vibration. Up here, we have a different vibration, somewhat defeatist and ambivalent, at the least. But that's the way it is. But anyway, if you need any auto repairs or tires or even windshield wipers, in this rainy weather, we do windshield wipers for just $14.99 for just about most cars out there. Some cars have proprietary blades, and we have to put the more expensive ones on, but we still have a discounted line for those as well. Certain cars, like certain Toyotas, have a proprietary type blade that's not a common mount, so they do run a little bit more. But a good percentage of the cars, I'd say the overwhelming majority of cars, we can put on a decent set of wiper blades on for just $14.99 installed plus tax. So that's a good value. And with winter coming on, wiper blades usually last maybe a year, maybe 2 if you're lucky, before they start to not clear the windshield as well. But it's wise to get them replaced when you start to see them ripping and tearing. You don't want to scratch your glass, and then you got more problems in that respect. So with winter coming, you should check on us. And like I said, we're in the north end of New Bedford on Church Street. Very easy to get in and out. See Ulysses in the service department, and we can take care of you. A very good afternoon to you, caller. Hi. Are you there?
Yes, Ralph.
Yes. Hello.
Hi, yes, it's Doug. How are you, Ralph?
Hi, Doug. Thank you for calling.
Oh, you bet. I figured I'd call in and kind of offer some observations.
Very good. I appreciate that.
Oh, you bet. Well, you're talking a little bit about the problems with New Bedford and the leadership of the country.
Yeah.
And I look at Chicago and Illinois, and they're in terrible shape. And, our country's leaders, that's where they're from. And, I worry that they're doing to the United States what they did to Chicago and Illinois.
Right. Well, Chicago definitely has a set of problems there, don't they? With every weekend, more people get shot down in Chicago, I think, than just about any other places in the country.
Yeah, exactly. And that situation with Illinois, it's one of the 2 or 3 worst states in the nation, and you have this tremendous run-up of debt nationally. I just think that...
Well, you're right. The debt cycle now, we're kind of like in there's a short debt cycle and a long debt cycle, and I think we're kind of coming into the realities of our long-term debt cycle now is coming home to roost.
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost like a repeat of 1933, if you will. And,
sure.
And in spite of them trying to create liquidity by having QE 1 and 2, and next will be 3, it's to subsidize the debtors so they'll have cash flow to pay their loans off. I think there's going to be a huge reset coming our way.
Yeah.
I think it's inevitable.
Yes.
And we're all going to be a lot poorer. I don't think they want to take that write-off yet on our personal balance sheets, and corporate balance sheets, and governmental balance sheets.
Yeah, I came across an article this week that said that since 1973, adjusted for inflation, the standard of living in the U.S. has gone nowhere.
Right. So it's stagnated or gone down.
Yeah, and granted, we have all these, great devices like iPods and, tablets and everything, but, it's difficult to get those bills paid.
Exactly. No, you're right. I see it as a business person in the community, an urban businessman, and meeting many of the public. And, if they prosper, I prosper. If they're struggling, I struggle. I mean, that's the realities of it. It's just like an ecosystem. You pour if you're pouring oil in a pond, you're polluting and killing off the pond. You're going to, cause a problem for all the life in that pond. Well, no different with you and I in a community. But
go ahead, Ralph.
Yeah, no, you bring up some good points. And there are no simple answers.
Yeah, I think one of the big roots of the problem is the whole poor education system. That the money. Personally, I think that the local money should be going towards the schools. I don't know why we have a National Department of Education. And I think that lack of education also results in us, as a society, making very poor decisions as far as who we elect.
Right. Yeah, well, we have a lot of people who are just uneducated as to the history of their country and how the system works.
Sure.
Not everyone. There's some kids out there who are very bright. I do meet some of them, but I'm amazed that the base of those who don't have a clue seems to be increasing with each decade passing.
Yes, exactly. That's people aren't like you've had trouble trying to find someone. We're just not training people, educating people to take the jobs that are available.
Right. No, it's true. And that's why sometimes the people who've come into the country are willing to do certain jobs Americans aren't willing to do, even if they're starving, so to speak. It's crazy when you think about it. But we're at a crossroads, regardless of what a person's politics are. We're at a crossroads in our country. Looking forward here, if we're going to stay on the top of the heap here, we got a lot of work to do.
Yes.
And our civil liberties, we're not the freest country any longer either. I mean, I was just reading an article. I should forward you a copy. But, Carl Icahn, you obviously know who he is. I know that.
Sure.
Yeah. Sure. Some people may or may not know who he is. But Carl Icahn did a video. It's on his website, carlicahn.com. I would suggest anyone who has access to a computer go on and listen to this man. Now, he's kind of a mainstream fellow. I guess you would agree with me, Doug, right?
Sure.
He's kind of a maverick, but he's mainstream in the system, so to speak.
Sure.
You won't consider him to be a radical per se. He's an aggressive investor, hedge. Well, I don't think he's. Well, I guess he has a hedge fund, right?
Yeah. I guess I would call him a leading capitalist.
Yeah. He's kind of goes in and buys companies and resets them, if you will, to be profitable if he sees value in it.
Sure.
And his video is about 15 minutes or so long, and it's sobering to hear this guy talk the way he talks, because he has a bright mind, and he's very connected to the system, and he talks about what we're up against, and interesting thought that people should at least ponder.
I think it would be very valuable to watch. I haven't watched it yet, but I think that could shed a lot of light for a lot of people.
What are your thoughts about the markets, still pulling back? We're losing beachfront, so to speak,
Well, as I said, a couple of conversations we've had, I just kind of hedge my bet.
Uh-huh.
I stay about half invested, so that way I'm covered if the market goes up, and I've got half my money safe if it goes down, and I know over the long run it goes up.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of carnage out there now with these junk bonds for the Wildcat oil guys, and a lot of bankruptcies and write-offs, and now the world has, when you look at what's happening, the Russians have tried to cooperate with us, but we've been rather, I guess the neocons who really run the show behind the scenes have been reticent on doing business with them or working with them, especially in Syria. And now we have a disaster over there. And Afghanistan and Syria. Our foreign policy is a mess. It was a mess under Bush. It's even just as bad, if not worse, under Obama. And certainly no better than Bush at all. And Bush was a disaster.
Yes, no argument here.
Yeah, I mean, we've got wars on a credit card.
Yeah, and here I kind of get back to that, uneducated public electing very, very poor presidencies.
Right. Yeah, that's true. But that's tough to solve, right? That's it is education. It comes down to education.
Yeah, and you just got to hope that over the long run that the individuals do want to advance their lives and want to make their lives better and work harder, and we dig ourselves out of this.
Right. Well, if we're going to save the country, you're right. Well, we're going to turn into a third world country. We're well on our way.
Unfortunately, there's so many poor decisions out of Washington.
Yeah, we're on our way. Well, I've got to let you go. We're running out of time. I do appreciate you calling me, Doug. Thank you very much.
You bet. I figured I'd give you a break with your allergies.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I am suffering a bit here behind the microphone. Thank you.
Okay, Ralph.
Yeah, bye-bye. Well, folks, till next week, we'll catch you. Hopefully I'll be in better shape next week. Hopefully I'll be past this. God bless. Catch you next week.
We're on the eve of destruction.